This is Sallust 23. We're beginning around line 8 in your text on page 282. Qui. All right, so this is the relative pronoun, but it's actually being used, or rather, we have to translate it as a demonstrative. Instead of saying to whom, we say to her. So really, we would translate it as if it were huik, to her, meaning, and I'll just scooch this down, this is referring back to Fulvia, to her. When he was less pleasing. When he was less pleasing to her. Gratis is one of those adjectives that frequently takes a dative, and there it is there. And this is imperfect subjunctive of the verb to be, and that's because it's in this circumstantial clause, describes the circumstances of what comes next. Since he could less spoil her because of, and here's another ablative, we'll put the macron on there, because of his lack of funds, he was running out of money, he was less able to spoil her. Largior, deponent verb there. Suddenly, boasting, present active participle. And we've been doing a lot of participle and infinitive work, so that's one to study for the test. Glorians, it's in the nominative singular masculine. Suddenly, boasting, he began. And this is your main verb here. He began. It's one of those weird verbs that only has a perfect. Koipi, koipisse is the dictionary form of that. But we translate it as a present. He began to promise. So, zoop. Complementary infinitive number 1. He began to threaten. Complementary infinitive number 2. And he began to, let's take it from here, like the wiggly lines here. He began to get crazy. Complementary infinitive number 3. So what do we have here? Present passive infinitive, and that's a deponent verb. Present passive infinitive, another deponent. Present active infinitive, and that's not deponent. He began to promise, he began to threaten, he began to get crazy. All right. So he began to promise what? The seas and the mountains. Nice. Got that nice connective there. Seas and the mountains. Impossible promises. He began to threaten her. Interdum. At the same time. Pharaoh with the sword. We discussed how this is means literally iron. Metaphorical level number 1 is sword. Metaphorical level number 2, violence. Threaten her with violence unless, and this is a shortening of an already pretty short word, nisi, unless. And you can see nisi really, it's got si in there, which means if, and ni, which is a negative sound. So, if not, which really kind of means unless. So that makes sense. Unless she should be submissive to him. Little dative here. Remember sui, sibi, se, the reflexive pronoun. It's referring back to Quintus Curius, whose name is not in this section, but we know who it is. And foret, we hate this. This is that old variant of esat. Yeah, sorry about that, but they use 2 different forms to get at that imperfect active subjunctive. This, once upon a time, used to be futurum esat. And they just kind of squished it all to, what did they get in there? Foret? Oh boy. They took out a lot of letters there. Kind of a mess. Unless she should be submissive to him. And finally, he began to get crazy more savagely than he was accustomed to. And this, we've got the comparative adverb. Watch out for that. So the dictionary form of this adjective is ferox, ferocis. It's another adjective of one termination in the third declension. And then the plain version of the adverb would be ferociter, savagely. And then comparative, ferocious, you just get that neuter comparative form, and that's the adverb. So in this sentence, things to be really attentive to, this main verb with the three, let's see, there it is, three present infinitives there. We've got a participle here, so pay close attention to those.